Hello everyone, this is Dr. Vivekananda Lakshmivati from the Department of Biotechnology, JJ College of Arts and Science, Pudukkottai, and I'm going to speak about drug designing. Many of us would be aware of the names of many drugs, but neither about the way it comes to us, nor about its biotechnology and economics. So let us get to know about them. Drug discovery and designing are the processes through which potential new therapeutic entities are identified using a combination of computational, experimental, translational, and clinical models. Drug design is the inventive process of finding new medications based on the knowledge of a biological target. In the most basic sense, drug design involves the design of molecules that are complementary in shape and charge to the molecular target with which they interact and bind. It's a very tedious process. It involves rigorous testing and optimization of selected compounds to identify the drug that is most effective. This testing is done in cells in vitro conditions and in animals in vivo conditions to study the metabolism and to produce a product that is safe and has passed all regulatory requirements. And at the end, only one drug comes out. During the last 50 years, many new drugs have been introduced and many old drugs have been withdrawn. To bring a new drug to market requires a good understanding of drug development process and integral role preclinical testing plays in that process. Nearly 5,000 to 10,000 compounds yield one new drug to the market. Overall time required for the successful results is 10 to 12 years. Drug designing is certainly a pyramid of uncertainty because it takes nearly 12 years overall to screen 5,000 to 10,000 compounds to come out with only one drug, and sometimes not sure about that too. Like I said, nearly 10,000 compounds are screened to get one single drug in different stages, like starting from discovery, then to preclinical testing, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, FDA review and approval. A new drug is something which, except during local clinical trials, has not been used ever before in the country. Drug already approved for certain claims but which is now proposed to be marketed with modified or new claims. FDC of two or more drugs proposed to be combined for first time in a fixed ratio. Some of the regulatory guidelines have to be followed during drug designing and development. Authority to grant permission for new drug to test and market new drug in India rests with Drugs Controller General of India, the DCGI, and is given as per the Drugs and Cosmetic Rules. Schedule Y of Drugs and Cosmetic Rules regarding investigation of new drugs, that is NDA, gives details of clinical data required as also issues guidelines on clinical trials which are required to be carried out for import and or manufacture of new drugs in India. These regulatory guidelines are governed by many regulatory authorities like the FDA of US, EMEA of the Europe, MHRA of the UK, and MHLW of Japan. The steps involved in drug designing are basic research, new drug discovery, preclinical studies, formulation development, IND application, clinical studies, official license or regulations, or marketing. First, the basic research. They start by studying normal and abnormal body functions, investigation of each component of the disease, that is pathophysiology, look up information obtained in previous research and publication, find out at which stage we can stop disease progression or development, search for targeted drug, isolate the index compound, perform an animal testing to obtain safety data, approval to test in humans. The next is to understand the disease. As of what are the symptoms, what is the cause, what is the target organ, and what are the biochemical pathways. Everything about the disease. The new drug discovery involves four steps: target identification, target validation, lead identification, and lead optimization. Target identification. The human body functions normally by virtue of the biochemical process which go on, producing all the necessary chemicals required for numerous functions to undergo smoothly within the body. Many of these processes are regulated by enzymes and the endogenous effector molecules via their respective receptors. A disease state may hence be identified by either the abnormal biochemical functioning or over or underproduction of some of the intermediates. Hence, the most important and most biological targets for drug discovery are either the enzymes regulating the biochemistry or the receptors through which many hormones or endogenous effectors show their response. For instance, inhibition of human dihydrofolate reductase by methotrexate brought under control the growth of tumor in humans. Similarly, blocking of the beta adrenoreceptors in the cardiac muscles was found to reduce the hypertensive state. Another type of biological targets are the nucleic acids. Though they are rarely targeted as compared to those, yet they are important targets. Next is a validation of the biological targets. Once the target is identified, it becomes absolutely necessary to confirm that the correct target has been identified. The use of reliable and suitable animal models and the latest techniques in gene targeting and expression are all essential to the validation process. Validation also helps researchers to identify any secondary target that the drug may bind to, which may lead to any sort of unwanted or adverse reaction. Ideally, the drug candidate should be such that it binds to a single target only, but this seldom happens. Thus, binding to other targets apart from the correct target leads to unwanted pharmacological actions. These cannot be completely avoided. It can be minimized to negligible extent. G protein coupled receptors are the most common and the major targets where a drug binds. Hence, over 30% of the drugs in market are modulators of GPCR. The quantitative polymerase chain reaction analysis is one of the techniques used to measure the mRNA expression on the receptor. Lead identification. A lead compound is the one that has basic structural requirements for exhibiting the desired action. This means that a lead compound has many structural spaces for further development of the structure to give a compound with further enhanced action. High throughput screening is a technique which helps to identify the lead compound out of many synthesized compounds or those compounds which are collected from the natural source. Hence, it becomes utmost important to identify the lead compound as this forms the basis for further development of the molecules. Various other techniques involved in lead identification are virtual screening, informatics, pharmacomapping, high throughput docking, NMR based screening, and chemical genetics. As soon as the lead structure is identified, the next step is to optimize it. Here, the chemists, in close collaboration with the pharmacologist, will carefully study the structure-activity relationship and will synthesize such other derivatives so as to get a compound with the best possible desired activity. Various other approaches for lead optimization are structure-based drug design, the SBDD, quantitative structure-activity relationship, QSAR, and computer-assisted drug design, CADD. All such approaches generate a huge amount of data so as to assist the chemist in optimizing the lead to the best possible structure with best possible desired action too. These aforementioned approaches shall be dealt in a later stage. The next comes the preclinical studies. The main objective of preclinical studies is to ascertain the safety of the newly developed molecule. A newly developed molecule is never permitted to be tested on the human body unless supported by confirmed data about the pharmacology and toxicology of the molecule, which is based on animal studies. So once a single compound is selected, preclinical studies are performed to evaluate a drug's safety, efficacy, and potential toxicity in animal models. These studies are also designed to prove that a drug is not carcinogenic, that is, it does not cause cancer, mutagenic, that is, it does not cause genetic alterations, or teratogenic. That means it does not cause any fetal malformations. Because a patient's ability to excrete a drug can be as important as the patient's ability to absorb the drug, both of these factors are studied in detail at this stage of preclinical development. Preclinical studies also help researchers design the proposed phase 1 studies to be conducted with humans. For instance, preclinical studies with animals help determine the initial dose to be evaluated in the clinical trial and help identify safety evaluation criteria. The result of work at this stage is a pharmacological profile of the drug that will be beneficial long into the drug's future. Researchers can use the profile to develop the initial manufacturing process and pharmaceutical formulation to be used for testing with humans. They can also use specification assigned in this stage to evaluate the chemical quality and purity of the drug, its stability, and the reproducibility of the quality and purity during the repeat manufacturing procedures. At this stage and before testing with humans begins, an investigational new drug, that is the IND application, is filed with the FDA. If the IND application is approved, then the clinical trials can begin. Phase 1 clinical trials. Phase 1 trials are the first time that a drug is tested in humans. These trials may involve small numbers, say around 20 to 100, of healthy volunteers, or they may include patients with specific conditions for which targeted pathways have been identified as potentially relevant to the disease. A phase 1 study may last for several months. The focus of this study is the evaluation of a new drug's safety, the determination of a safe dosage range, the identification of side effects, and the detection of early evidence of effectiveness if the drug is studied in patients with this disease. For example, in patients with cancer. From phase 1 clinical trials, researchers gain important information about the drug's effect when it is administered with another drug. That is, the effect is often unpredictable and sometimes results in an increase in the action of either the substance or creates an entirely new adverse effect. And about the drug's pharmacokinetics, that is the absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion, to understand better a drug's action in the body. And about the acceptability of the drug's balance of potency, pharmacokinetic properties, and toxicity, or the ability of the drug to zero on its target and not other biological processes. And finally, the tolerated dose range of the drug to minimize its possible side effects. Phase 2 clinical trials. In phase 2 clinical trials, the study drug is tested for the first time for its efficacy in patients with the disease or the condition targeted by the medication. These studies may take up to several hundred years and may last up to several months to several years. They help determine the correct dosage, common short-term side effects, and the best regimen to be used in larger clinical trials. This usually begins with phase 2A clinical trials, in which the goal is to obtain an initial proof of concept, that is POC. The POC demonstrates that the drug did what it was intended to, that is, interacted correctly with its molecular target and in turn altered the disease. Phase 1 and 2A are sometimes referred to as exploratory development. The phase 2b trials are larger and may use comparator agents and broader dosages to obtain a much more robust POC. Phase 3 clinical trials. Phase 3 clinical trials are designed to prove the candidate drugs benefit in a large targeted patient population with the disease. These trials confirm efficacy, monitor side effects, and sometimes compare the drug candidate to commonly used treatments. Researchers also use these clinical trials to collect additional information on the overall risk benefit relationship of the drug and to provide an adequate basis for labeling after successful approval of the drug. These studies are conducted with large populations consisting of several hundred to several thousand patients with the disease or the condition of interest. They typically take place over several years and at multiple clinical centers around the world. These studies provide the proof needed to satisfy regulators that a medicine meets the legal requirements needed to be approved for marketing. The study that may be compared with the existing treatments. These trials are ideally double-blinded, that is, neither the patient nor the researcher knows which patients are receiving the drug and which patients are receiving placebos during the course of the trial. These trials are usually required for FDA approval of the drug. If the trials are successful, then a new drug application, that is the NDA, is submitted to the FDA. The process of review usually takes 10 to 12 months and may include an advisory committee review, but such a review is at the discretion of the FDA. Phase 4 clinical trials. The last stage in the drug development process is the marketing of the product. These trials are studies conducted after a drug receives regulatory approval from the FDA. This is the last stage in the drug development process, which is primarily for the medical marketing of the product. In some cases, the FDA may require or the companies may voluntarily undertake post-approval studies to generate additional information about a drug's long-term safety and efficacy, including its risks, benefits, and optimal use. These studies may take a variety of forms, including studies that use data from the administrative databases of health plans, as well as observational studies and additional clinical trials. Post-approval trials may also be designed to test the drug with additional patient populations, example with the children's, in new delivery modes as a timed release capsule, or for new uses or indications for the treatment of different medical condition. Because these post-approval trials are intended to provide the basis for FDA approval of further uses or delivery modes, they must meet the same standard as of the phase 3 trials. The early proof of concept. It has been reported that the overall productivity of new drug entities by pharmaceutical industry is declining, with R&D expenditures increasing while new drug approvals are decreasing. To reduce the overall time for drug candidate selection and increase the probability of success, pharmaceutical companies are actively attempting to accelerate POC studies. Traditionally, the process of POC prime has been carried out as part of phase 1 and 2. Safety and tolerability of a new chemical entity is examined in phase 1, while information concerning the pharmacokinetics of an entity is investigated at the same time. However, confidence in the underlying therapeutic mechanisms, the COM, is not attained until efficacy studies are carried out in phase 2. There is a trend for speeding up the process whereby efficacy is being evaluated in phase 1 through the use of biological markers or the biomarkers. POC therefore offers a go or no-go decision point designed to test the clinical concepts, validate new therapeutic targets, and evaluate potential commercial value in a timely fashion with limited resources. The goal of POC is to fail quickly and to identify the winner early on. This development strategy allows one to test more compounds with less resources. Once a successful POC program is concluded, a broader clinical program and more sophisticated CMC, that is chemistry, manufacture and control development, can be initiated. So, what is the principle behind the drug design? The principle behind drug design is Lipinski's rule of five. Lipinski's rule of five is also known as Fisch's rule of five or simply the rule of five. It is a rule of thumb to evaluate drug likeness or determine if a chemical compound with a certain pharmacological or biological activity has properties that would make it a likely orally active drug in humans. The rule was formulated by Christopher A. Lipinski in 1997 based on the observation that most medication drugs are relatively small and lipophilic molecules. The rule describes molecular properties important for a drug's pharmacokinetics in the human body, including their absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. However, the rule does not predict if a compound is pharmacologically active. The rule is important to keep in mind during drug discovery when a pharmacologically active lead structure is optimized stepwise to increase the activity and selectivity of the compound as well as to ensure drug-like physicochemical properties are maintained as described by the Lipinski's rule. Candidate drugs that confirm the RO510 tend to have lower attrition rates during clinical trials and hence have an increased chance of reaching the market. Lipinski's rule states that, in general, an orally active drug has no more than one violation of the following criteria. Not more than 5 hydrogen bond donors, the nitrogen oxygen atoms with one or more hydrogen atoms, or not more than 10 hydrogen bond acceptors, either the nitrogen or oxygen atoms, or a molecular mass less than 500 daltons, or an octanol water partition coefficient of log P not greater than 5. Now let's know about the economics of the drug designing. The initial discovery and basic research involving all the software-based studies utilize around 30% of the complete cost. The preclinical testing utilizes around 15 to 20% of the complete cost. 40% of the total cost involved in the new drug development is utilized in the clinical trial part of the process. The remaining 10 to 15% is used during the marketing phase of drug and for some regulatory requirements. The present scenario is that nearly $800 million are spent to bring out a new drug to the market. About $127 billion were spent on pharmaceutical R&D in the year 2010. The share of clinical research organizations in research operations is 27%. World CRO market is $16.3 billion, out of which Indian share is $500 million. If you see the split up of the expenditures to bring up a drug, you can see that a major expense goes out for the lead optimization, followed by phase 1 and phase 2 studies. The total cost to bring out a drug comes to around $1,778 million. And if you see the share of the cost for R&D in terms of percentage, around 29% goes out for phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 studies and the least for the bioavailability. The present day cost involved in drug discovery. The usage of modern computational techniques has reduced the time period involved in the drug discovery process. The combinatorial chemistry and high throughput screening methods are capable of synthesizing and screening of thousands of compounds virtually. Thus, the cost and time involved in these tedious processes are reduced. The in silico screening technique has also helped in screening leads identified virtually, but still the cost involved in drug development process is high and various measures are being taken to reduce that. Drug discovery is yet more to be explored. even more than that explored till date. The findings of the Human Genome Project has added more understanding to the target identification. Nature has made all the provisions for curing a disease or disorder. Human efforts of finding is what is required. Exploring natural sources which is ill explored should be effectively done as nature is a source of countless chemicals which could lead to successful drug candidates. Thank you. Jai Hind.